The sun had barely risen when Anna stepped outside with a metal bucket balanced on her hip. Her feet were bare. The cold sand clung to her soles as she walked quietly to the well behind their compound. It was the same routine every morning. Wake. First, sweep the compound, fetch water, cook breakfast and tidy the house. Her mother and elder sister remained in bed until the sun fully dressed the sky. Anna never complained. She was a beautiful girl in her early 20s. Her skin was the rich dark brown of roasted cocoa. Her voice was soft, her smile gentle. In the village, people often said she was too good for her own family. She bowed to elders, greeted everyone with respect, and never raised her voice. Women adored her. Men admired her. But the people in her own house, they saw her goodness and hated her for it. Clara, her elder sister, was the worst. She was tall and light-skinned, always dressed in flashy clothes. While Anna swept the compound and cooked, Clara spent hours painting her face and admiring herself in a broken mirror. She often stood by the window watching boys pass by, twisting her waist like a market dancer. She never lifted a hand to do anything, and their mother allowed it. Mrs. Agnes never hid the fact that Clara was her favorite. "Clara is the one that will bring light to this family," she always said. "Anna, that one is just a housemaid that grew into a woman." Whenever Anna heard those words, her heart burned, but she said nothing. She believed that one day her kindness would speak for her. Then came Emma. Emma was a quiet, hard-working young man who worked on people's farms to earn money. He didn't have fine clothes. His shoes were dusty, but his heart was clean. He had once been in love with Clara, but she laughed at him. "Me? Date a common farm boy," she said, scoffing. "Do I look like someone who wants to eat roasted yam for breakfast and cassava for dinner?" Emma had turned away quietly and never said a word again. But Anna saw him differently. She saw how he treated elders, how he shared his food with beggars, how he helped an old man carry firewood without being asked. Slowly, a quiet friendship began between them. Emma would greet her at the stream, help her carry water, and sometimes leave a small bunch of bananas by her door. When he told her he loved her, Anna smiled and said, "I know." She accepted him, not for what he had, but for who he was. But when her mother and Clara found out, the house became a battlefield. "You're useless, just like him," her mother shouted. "You want to disgrace me with a poor man?" Clara clapped her hands and laughed. "So the village angel is now following farm boys. Wonders shall never end." Anna stood there in silence, her heart heavy. She wanted to speak, but her tears spoke louder. She knew it wouldn't be easy. She just didn't know it would become a living nightmare. Weeks passed. Anna's life slowly turned from quiet suffering to open humiliation. Everything about her changed. The way her mother looked at her, the way Clara rolled her eyes whenever she entered the room, even the way neighbors whispered when she walked by. It was as if loving Emma had cursed her. Emma still came around. He would bring her food, small pieces of fish, a tuber of yam, groundnut tied in a black nylon. He always greeted her mother politely, but Mrs. Agnes never replied. Instead, she would hiss loudly and say, "Who invited this poverty into my compound?" Sometimes she poured the food away. Other times she would chase him off with harsh words. "Leave this girl alone, you poor rat. Go and marry cassava, not my daughter." Anna would stand there, frozen in shame, as Emma bowed and quietly walked away. At night, Clara would sit on the only chair in the sitting room, rubbing cream on her legs while mocking Anna. See her flat chest, see her dry skin, and she's the one stealing all the praises in this village. If only they knew she sleeps with a boy who works on people's farms. Their mother would laugh and say, "Let her continue. One day, the shame she brings will sit on her neck like a calabash." Anna would remain silent. Her only crime was falling in love with a boy they believed wasn't worthy. She still did all the chores, swept the compound before dawn, fetched water, cooked their food, washed their clothes. But now, the work doubled. They no longer helped at all. Even Clara, who used to sweep once in a while now, sat back and crossed her legs. Then one morning, everything changed. Anna woke up and rushed outside to vomit. Her stomach turned again and again. She wiped her mouth and sat under the mango tree, shaking. Her back was wet with sweat, though the morning breeze was cool. A strange fear crawled up her chest. She missed her period. She waited another week. Still nothing. Then another. It was true. She was pregnant. Anna stood under the tree, her hands on her belly. A soft breeze blew past her wrapper. She felt two things. At once, joy and fear. Joy because she was carrying Emma's child. Fear because her mother would never forgive her. When she entered the house later that evening, her mother was waiting. "You've been moving around like someone being chased by spirits," Mrs. Agnes said. Her eyes narrowed. "What's wrong? With you?" Anna didn't speak. "Talk, you useless girl." Clara walked in just then, holding a bottle of perfume. "She's pregnant," she said casually. "That's why she vomits every morning like a sick chicken." Silence. Then a loud slap cracked through the air. Anna held her face, her ears ringing. "You've killed me," her mother screamed. "You've brought shame to my house." Clara stood with a wicked smile. "Shame on the angel of the village. The humble one is now carrying a bastard." That night Anna was not given food. The next morning her mother poured her breakfast on the ground. "Eat that if you're hungry," she said coldly. From that day Anna became a shadow in her own home, pregnant, weak and unloved. Her only light was Emma, and even he was being driven away more and more. But what they didn't know was this: storms never last forever. And one day, the wind that carried Emma away would bring him back, different, powerful and unstoppable. Anna sat on a low stool beside the firewood kitchen. Her belly had started to show, round and full, like the morning moon. But it was not celebrated. No, one rubbed her stomach with joy. No one spoke of baby names. Instead, every day brought fresh pain. Her mother barely spoke to her. When she did, it was to insult her. "You will give birth like a goat in this house," she once said, staring at Anna's belly with disgust. Clara became even more cruel. She would intentionally kick over Anna's water bucket after she had walked half a mile to fetch it. She would call out to neighbors loudly, "Have you all seen the village virgin, pregnant and still washing plates like she's holy?" The laughter would sting. Sometimes Anna wondered what she did wrong. Was love a crime? Was believing in someone's future such a terrible sin? Still, she didn't give up. Even with her swollen feet, she cooked, washed, and cleaned. Her hands cracked from the cold water. Her back ached. Yet she kept quiet. For her child. For Emma. Emma came fewer times now. Each visit ended with him being insulted. Mrs. Agnes would stand in the doorway with her arms folded, refusing to let him enter. Clara once threw dirty mop water in his direction and shouted, "Next time, use this to wash your empty future." But Emma remained calm. "I'm working hard," he told Anna during one of their stolen moments under the mango tree. "I've been saving. There's a man in the next village who wants to teach me welding. After that, I'll move to the city and work. I'll come back for you, I promise." Anna held his hand. "Even if the whole world turns against me, I'll wait for you." They hugged that day like two people drowning in a sea of hate, clinging to the only warmth they knew. And that was the last time Anna saw Emma. He left the village quietly one morning. No goodbye to Clara, no word to Mrs. Agnes, just a final gift left at Anna's window, a small anklet with a folded note that read, "For my queen and our child. I will return stronger." When the neighbors noticed his absence, they mocked Anna even more. "So the farm boy has run away," they said. "He has dumped the poor girl with his shame." Her mother laughed louder than anyone else. "I knew it. Men like that don't stay." Useless boy ran away the moment the stomach started swelling. Clara took every chance to remind Anna, "If you think he's coming back, dream on. You'll give birth, carry your child, and still sleep on the floor of this house. Nobody is coming to save you." Anna cried every night. There were times she sat alone in the backyard, rubbing her stomach, whispering to her unborn child, "Your father is not like them. He will come back. I believe in him." But deep inside, even her faith began to shake. What if he never returned? What if this suffering was all she would ever know? What if this house, this pain, this shame, was the beginning and end of her story? She didn't know, but life had a strange way of rewriting stories, and the one they mocked, the boy they spat on, was writing his own chapter too. Far away, in a strange city, Emma was learning, growing and rising, and one day he would return. The evening sky turned red as Anna sat on the doorstep, her hands resting on her belly. The child in her womb moved gently, kicking as if trying to remind her it was still there, still growing, still strong. She looked up at the clouds, her heart heavy with silence. No one in the house had spoken to her all day. Earlier that morning, Clara had insulted her again. "Better don't give birth in this house, oh. You'll bring bad luck. I don't want to hear any crying baby disturbing my sleep." Their mother had simply nodded and added, if she had listened, she would be preparing for a wedding now, but she wanted love. Let her marry hunger. Anna kept quiet as always. That night, her back started to hurt. She couldn't sleep. She lay on the mat, sweat covering her face. Her stomach tightened. She cried out softly. Nobody answered. When morning came, her wrapper was soaked in water. The pain returned like waves. She crawled to the door and knocked on her mother's room. "What is it?" Mrs. Agnes shouted. I think the baby is coming," Anna stammered. "So?" Anna looked at her, stunned. "Help me, Mama," she pleaded, but Mrs. Agnes rolled her eyes. "Do I look like a midwife? Go and give birth in the bush for all I care." Clara sat on the sofa, scrolling through her phone. "Just don't mess the floor," she said. "I cleaned it yesterday." Anna felt a sharp pain again and screamed. She dragged herself back to the mat, breathing heavily. Alone, but God was watching. A neighbor named Mama Ruth heard her cries. She came running in. "Jesus, this girl is in labor, and you people are sitting here," Mrs. Agnes hissed. "Did I ask her to get pregnant?" Mama Ruth ignored her and knelt beside Anna. "Don't worry, my child. I've delivered 7 children. You'll be fine." And by that evening, in that same tiny room where she had suffered, Anna gave birth to a baby boy. His cry echoed through the walls like thunder after drought. Mama Ruth lifted the baby up, smiling. "He's healthy, strong too." Anna, though weak and soaked in sweat, smiled through her tears. "His name is Emmanuel." "Why that name?" Mama Ruth asked gently. "Because it means God with us," Anna whispered. "Even if everyone left me, God stayed." When Clara saw the baby, she laughed. "A new mouth to feed. Welcome to the club, little burden." But something shifted that night. The villagers heard of what had happened, that Anna gave birth with no help from her family, and that Mama Ruth had delivered the baby with no single cloth, no hot water, no wrapper from her mother. Women in the village whispered, "That family is wicked. Even animals don't abandon their own." Shame slowly crept into the walls of the house, but neither Clara nor Mrs. Agnes admitted it. They continued as if nothing happened. Anna named her baby Emmanuel. She wrapped him in one of her old wrappers, and every night she held him close, humming lullabies through her pain. She had no money, no husband beside her, but she had her son and hope. What she didn't know was that miles away, in a strange city full of noise and tall buildings, Emma had started something big. He wasn't just working anymore, he was building, slowly, quietly, and he hadn't forgotten his promise. He had not forgotten Anna, nor the child they made. The nights grew longer in Anna's world. 3 years had passed since Emma left. But to her heart, it still felt like yesterday. His voice still echoed in her mind. His promises still danced in her memory, like the moonlight that entered her small room each night. But in the real world, everything had become harder. Anna's son, Emmanuel, was now walking, talking, and asking questions. He looked just like his father, same eyes, same calm spirit. Sometimes when he laughed, Anna would sit back and close her eyes, as if she was hearing Emma himself. That was the only joy she had. But the house she lived in remained a place of pain. Her mother still treated her like a stranger. She no longer spoke harshly, but the silence she gave was even colder. Mrs. Agnes had stopped insulting Anna openly, not because she felt pity, but because the village had started whispering. People saw how the young girl raised her child alone, how she worked hard without complaining. Their words were beginning to shame her. Clara, however, had grown more bitter. No job, no husband, no peace. Every suitor that once admired her had married someone else. The village girls she used to mock were now mothers and wives. She would sit at the window for hours, watching people pass. Sometimes she'd turn to Anna and snap, "So you're now the village queen, Abi? Because you have a child? Don't feel too important. You're still a disgrace." Anna never answered. She had learned that silence could sometimes scream louder than words. Each day, she woke up before the sun. She swept the compound while carrying Emmanuel on her back. She walked long distances to fetch water. She sold firewood by the roadside, saving every coin she could. She bought old clothes from the market and washed them for resale. People in the village admired her strength, but she never let it get to her head. She still lived with the weight of being the girl who got pregnant out of wedlock. Some women smiled to her face but talked behind her back. "She's doing well, but what if the boy never comes back? What if she waits and waits and he marries someone else? She's wasting her youth." Anna heard it all, but every night after putting Emmanuel to sleep, she would sit by the window and whisper, "Emma, wherever you are, I still believe in you. Don't forget me." She wore the same wrapper he left behind on days she missed him more. She kept his small anklet in a tiny box near her pillow. When Emmanuel asked about his father, she would smile and say, "He went to find a better life, for you and me." She never lost hope. But deep in her soul, a small part of her was breaking. She would cry silently in the dark, clutching her knees like a child. She wondered if she had been foolish, if she had wasted her youth, if love was ever worth the price she paid. Sometimes she walked to the mango tree where she and Emma used to sit. She would sit alone, let the breeze brush her face and dream, and still nothing, no letter, no sign, no Emma. But what Anna didn't know was that far from the village, beyond the hills and markets, in a noisy, busy city, a man had not forgotten her. He was working, and every coin he earned was for her. It was an ordinary morning in the village. Anna had just returned from the stream, Emmanuel asleep on her back, his arms tucked under her wrapper. She was tired. Her hands shook as she lowered the water pot gently beside the kitchen wall. Her feet were dusty, her wrapper wet around the edges, but her face remained calm. As usual, her mother sat in front of the house slicing okra. Clara was lying on a wooden bench, chewing dry kola nut and scrolling through her phone. No one offered Anna a seat. She didn't ask. She walked past them quietly and entered the kitchen to prepare food for her son. She stirred the pot gently, whispering a song as Emmanuel rested beside her. It was a tune she and Emma once sang under the mango tree, soft, hopeful, full of dreams. But something strange happened that afternoon. The sound of cars, real cars, approaching from the village square. Not motorcycles, not Kiki. Cars, people, began running. Children shouted. The dust in the air rose like a cloud as a black SUV stopped at the chief's compound. Another black car followed, then another. It was rare. The village was too small for such visitors. Clara rushed to the door. Mrs. Agnes stood too. "What's happening?" she asked, confused. Anna stayed back, watching from the kitchen door, unsure of what to think. Then they heard voices outside. "Where is Anna?" someone asked. Her heart skipped. "Where is Anna and her son?" Anna's hands shook. She stepped forward slowly. At the gate, a young man in a fine suit pointed toward her compound. "There she is," he said. The car door opened and Emma stepped out, but this wasn't the Emma she remembered. This man was different. His skin was fresh. His hair was neat and trimmed. His clothes, rich traditional attire, polished shoes, and a gold watch on his wrist shone like nothing she had seen. He looked like someone from a different world. Clara gasped. "Is that—" Mrs. Agnes held the door for balance. Anna's breath caught in her chest. Her eyes widened. He walked slowly toward her. Not with pride, but with quiet strength. He stood in front of her, eyes locked on hers. Emmanuel peeked from behind her wrapper. Confused but curious, Emma knelt before her. "I told you I'd return," he said softly, his voice firm but gentle. "And I never forgot you, or him." He looked at his son and smiled. "I built everything for you. Every sweat, every night I went hungry, every coin I saved, it was to come back for my queen." Anna couldn't speak. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Clara stepped forward, voice trembling. "Emma, you look good. Oh, it's been long. He raised his hand without looking at her. Mrs. Agnes swallowed hard. "You're welcome, my son. Emma, you're welcome." Still he didn't turn. His eyes remained on Anna. "Come with me," he said quietly. "Let's start the life we dreamt of, in a house where no one will ever insult you again." Anna looked down at Emmanuel, then at Emma. Then, without a word, she nodded. The village clapped. Some wept. But Clara and Mrs. Agnes, they stood there, broken, ashamed and silent. Everything they had mocked had returned in glory. By evening the whole village knew the girl they mocked, the boy they insulted, had returned, richer, stronger, untouchable. Anna sat quietly in the back seat of the black SUV. Emmanuel sat on her lap, wide-eyed, playing with the buttons on the leather seat. Emma sat beside them, holding her hand gently as the car rolled. Out of the village road. No one spoke inside the car. There was no need. The silence was full of meaning. The other cars followed behind. Some villagers had climbed onto bicycles and motorcycles, trying to catch a last glimpse of the convoy. Women clapped, men whistled. Some pointed at Mrs. Agnes's compound and shook their heads. That's the woman who called him a farm rat. That's the house where Anna suffered. See now, God has lifted her. Inside the compound, Mrs. Agnes sat on a wooden stool, her wrapper twisted around her waist. Clara paced the corridor, biting her fingernail. "I told you we should have treated him better," Clara shouted. "Now he's taken Anna away and left us like rags." Mrs. Agnes didn't answer. Her eyes were blank, her hands trembled. The shame in her chest was heavier than iron. That night, she couldn't sleep. She remembered the first day Emma came to visit. She had looked him up and down and called him names. She remembered pouring his food away, telling her own daughter to give birth like a goat. She remembered chasing Anna away from the family kitchen, calling Emmanuel a bastard. And now that same child was riding in a car worth more than her house. That same girl, the one she made sleep on the floor, was gone. Gone into a life of glory. Clara refused to eat dinner. She sat in the dark, arms folded, anger boiling inside. He didn't even look at me, she whispered, not once. She remembered the day Emma begged her to give him a chance, when he came with roasted corn and a hopeful heart. She had spat on him. Now he was untouchable. Rich men now bowed. To him, women screamed his name, and worst of all, he chose Anna. She buried her face in her hands and wept. Meanwhile, in a quiet mansion outside the city, Anna stood on the balcony of her new home. Her wrapper blew gently in the breeze. The moonlight bathed her skin. Emma walked up behind her and held her waist. "You're quiet," he said softly. "I'm thinking," she replied, her voice steady. "This still feels like a dream." He kissed her forehead. "But it's not. You deserve everything and more." She looked at him, eyes full of tears. "Do you know what it means to suffer in silence for years? To be called useless? To carry your child and scrub floors with swollen feet?" "I know," he said. "I saw it in your letters." She looked surprised. He smiled and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside were folded papers, stained with age. "I kept every note you sent. Through Mama Ruth, every message, every word. You gave me reason to keep going." Anna covered her mouth with both hands. "Now," Emma continued, "I'm building a foundation in your name, for single mothers, for village girls, for the forgotten. You'll be its leader." Anna turned and hugged him tightly, sobbing into his chest. This was not just revenge, it was victory, and the pain had finally birthed purpose. Months passed. Anna's new life was nothing like the one she left behind. She now woke up to soft bed sheets, not straw mats. Her kitchen was filled with warm food, not empty pots. Her son, Emmanuel, wore clean clothes, played in a private garden, and called for his father without fear. But Anna remained the same in spirit. She was still quiet, still humble, still the respectful village girl who once walked barefoot to fetch water. Only now the world called her Madame Anna Emmanuel. Her name was printed in newspapers. Her face appeared on billboards. But she did not chase fame. She chased purpose. She began a foundation, the Emmanuel Light Foundation, built for girls like her. Girls who were mocked for being poor, for getting pregnant, for daring to believe in love. The foundation paid school fees. It gave mothers a second chance. It fed widows and clothed orphans. She didn't return to the village often, but when she did, the whole village stood still. On one special day, she returned. This time, not in silence, but with honor. She came with a convoy of cars, not to show off, but to open a new maternity clinic built in her name. The chief welcomed her. Elders greeted her with both hands. Women sang. Clara stood at the side of the road, her clothes worn and her face pale. She tried to hide, but people noticed her. That's her sister, the one who mocked her. She's still here, no husband, no work, just bitterness. Mrs. Agnes came too, slowly walking toward the ceremony with weak knees. She had grown lean, her hair now full of grey. The pride she once wore like a crown had disappeared. When Anna came down from her car, Emmanuel holding her hand, her mother rushed to her. "My daughter, my own blood, please forgive me. I was blind." Anna looked at her for a long time. The crowd waited, hoping to see a moment of tears and embrace. But Anna did not hug her. She simply said, "I carried your shame in silence. I gave birth with no help. I washed your clothes with a baby tied to my back. You did not just reject me, you buried me alive." Mrs. Agnes knelt, her wrapper dragging in the dust. Clara came close, tears already flowing. "Anna, you won. You've won. Please let us in." But Anna's eyes were calm. "I forgive myself," she said, "but I will not carry you into my peace. You both locked me out of love. Now stay outside of mine." She turned and walked away, her son still holding her hand. People watched in silence. No claps, no cheers, just quiet truth. That day the clinic was opened. Anna spoke to the crowd, not about pain, but about power. The power of enduring, the power of rising. And as the sun set, a small boy tugged her dress and asked, "Auntie Anna, why do you help people even when they hurt you?" She bent down and smiled. "Because I know what it means to be hurt and have no one." She stood again, and the girl they mocked, the girl they beat, the girl they said would never rise, became the woman who lifted them all. But she didn't forget, and she did not take them with her.